At 12:06 on what is a delightful Thursday, folks. Good afternoon. You're listening to This is the John DePietro Show. It's AM 1380, 99.9 FM, as we're just getting on the air for this lunchtime hour, the real news at noon. Now, also, what I like to do is I also like to use this opportunity to remind people that we try to set up various platforms that you can listen to the program. And just the fact that it's not, we try to expand into different areas. So, for instance, as we're speaking right now, we are live on our Facebook page, of which the crowd is filing in right now. And then also you can find us on our YouTube channel, John DePietro Show, that we're about to just hit a new benchmark that we constantly do. And then also we have expanded the real news at noon to both as I said, X and YouTube. So what I try to do is I try to make it as easy as possible for people to listen to the program, or in this case, watch the program. And yesterday we certainly had a lot of people that were watching the program, and that was quite the long afternoon. And I want to, start off by talking about it. But we are, in fact, again, right now, 12:08 Ocean State. It is the real news at noon. And this portion of our program, folks, I can't thank them enough. They're such wonderful people, and we always try to plug you in with great local businesses, people that you want to do business with. And one of them, of course, is PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. I am their biggest fan. They are just so fantastic, folks. They grind it, they work it. It's not easy running your own business, let alone in this state, 7 days a week. And right now, locally sourced vegetables, sweet corn, they have native tomatoes, they have it all. Stop it and see them. 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Remember, full-scale nursery. They're open 7 days a week. The next few weeks and months are actually great months to do some planting, because you get the great sunshine, but you don't have the high, the strong heat. So stop in, because they have a great selection. Annuals, perennials, trees, and shrubs. I'm a big one on, you want to make either your business or your property as attractive as possible. They are a full-scale nursery, everything you need. Plus, right now, locally sourced vegetables. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Look for them on Facebook. Well, folks, everyone is buzzing about DePietro.com, and I understand why. First of all, yesterday, we broke the story where this, it turns out the guy's like a union goon thug who was part of the Senator Sheldon Whitehouse campaign. And then I did give credit to the Newport Buzz. They were the ones that saying, hey, the guy that the Newport police are looking for happens to be the same guy who's in on the Senator Sheldon Whitehouse campaign website. And it turns out it is. Notice they don't even say, and we've turned him over to the authorities. They changed out the picture. But anyhow, folks, all the video from yesterday, original stories, I am still just blown away at what happened in Coventry over the weekend. And then the coordination between Coventry and Smithfield Police, and then Providence Police, and all those different outlets coming together. Folks, but check out DePietro.com, which is brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge with Anthony Santos. Perfect spot. They're open 7 days a week. Perfect spot for that collation lunch. It's part of life. Someone passes away, the family's going to get together afterwards, and not a lot of restaurants can accommodate a large group. And I'm talking about 40 people, 50 people, 80 people, 100 people. I've been at the Coesit Inn when they had a collation lunch for 150 people. You can't, not many places can handle that. They can. And now they also have the market at the Coesit Inn. Well, folks, I want to start off just a recap a little bit. Yesterday, and again, folks, good afternoon. Yesterday, that was a long afternoon. I think, again, for those that follow what we do, and my belief that it's all about, is there an opening for something like this? Is there, excuse me, like a niche for something like this? Is there a need for something like this? Is there an audience for something like this? So, yesterday, again, the way that media keeps evolving, yesterday on scene, who was on scene? Well, obviously, first of all, we were the only ones, road patrol. We were the only ones in Warwick when the police were behind Walmart. That is the only footage you will see of the police on scene there. That's number one. Number two, we were first one on the scene for this standoff that went on right off of Post Road in Warwick. And then as the other media arrived, and I interact with them, you can see, I mean, I like Leanna Folk, the Channel 12 people are nice, Channel 6 people. It has become, though, it's always on a big story. It's, as various people have said, it's become the big four, which is it's us, Road Patrol Live, one on the scene, and then Channel 10, 12, and then Channel 6. So that was a tough situation for the work police. I also, I want to just mention this. And if you are a subscriber, of which I wish more people would subscribe to our page, certainly continue to give us more incentive. I shared a lot of information with the subscribers. I shared a lot, and I'm going to do more of that and make more of an effort to that because I'm so grateful to them. Couple things. Number one, it was unusual yesterday that we had not one, but I later learned we had two of the children from the house that were in the chat, and they couldn't go home. That's their house, that their father, the ex-husband, two of the children, there's four children, two of the children live in the house. This nutcase constantly torturing the ex-wife, and then goes to the house, and that's where he decides he's going to end his life. Why would I don't have any answer to that. Why would you do that? But I also want to mention, so I learned later, and it was long. I went to go over there at 2:00. I was behind Walmart, and then I won't say how, but then kind of learned like something is up in the area. And I could tell because of the amount of police activity and the way they were acting that there was something up in the area. And that's why then I want to thank Sean. I was the first one on the scene, but the children were watching. And I'm also told that their mother was, because they all they knew was they couldn't go home. And police didn't know if this guy was even in the house. It turned out he was in the house. I put for the subscribers, they could know. But what I later learned was they were watching because they couldn't go to the house. And then they felt they weren't getting a lot of answers from police. But police at that point, they tell them what they can tell them. That was a very difficult situation with work police. I want to be I don't think people appreciate or understand how difficult that is. And there were a lot of moving parts to it. And they utilized everything possible. That was what you saw yesterday was well trained, disciplined. I think very, very highly of Warwick police. That was certainly not the ending that they wanted. And they employed the drone in the air. Just as a quick aside, no one is more frustrated. Now, we've been doing this really aggressively. It started during the summer of 2020. And one of the reasons I started doing the live streaming, right, of the BLM riots and everything else was because the technology improved so much. In the past, when I would try to do it, a lot of times it would get cut off. And so we do it the summer of 2020, right? No problems. We do it 21. We do it 22, summer of Charlotte Lester. We do it last year. Now it's summer 24 and out of nowhere now. And it's slowly, I can't even focus on it. It is slowly driving me nuts that there's this, it's a glitch with the app though, that we lose the sound. Holy cow, that didn't happen 4 years ago. I'm not a conspiracy person, but I have been in communication with Facebook. They're trying to straighten it out. But anyhow, it's just an aside. It's one of those things in the past that really would have rattled me. I don't have an explanation. We're trying to work through it. But yesterday that was extraordinary to have the family members there. And there were some people saying they shouldn't be watching. Well, what else are they supposed to be doing? I mean, we have the live stream going. That's their street. They want to go into the house. I don't understand. I don't know if anyone can. And I don't have the details. And I don't need to know some of the details. Note left. It's just such a cruel thing to do. If for whatever reason someone has decided that they no longer want to be on this earth, I think it's sad. I fundamentally disagree with that because and again, I know people will say you don't understand. They got into a deep hole and they couldn't get out of it. And I'm familiar and interviewed different people like that. But I just don't get why on earth would you do that? Boy, he showed the ex-wife. If you were that unhappy, why not work 3 jobs or 4 jobs that you have no time to be unhappy and then just earn that money and do some good deeds or give it to your children or whatever? But that makes no sense at all. But many times these situations, they don't make sense. But the Warwick police, they had to be cautious. This is someone who had access to a firearm and certainly exhibiting unusual behavior, to put it mildly, and someone who is a threat. If you have someone that is going to take their own life, they won't think twice about taking someone else's life. So, folks, this portion of our program, I want to remind you of my friends with AJ Home Improvement. If you're listening right now and you'd like to improve your home, contact or business AJ Home Improvement, 401-323-9252, because they can do it all. Now, they could build you a new home. But they have frame to finish basements, acoustical ceilings, new homes, additions, commercial rehabs, painting, remodeling. They do it all. It's AJ Home Improvement. Call today, 401-323-9252, 401-323-9252 for AJ Home Improvement. Now, I want to talk a little bit during this Real News at Noon. The Democrat Party, they are... as I mentioned, if you want to be objective, as much as people are saying Biden made the mistake about doing the early debate, I'm still going to come back to that. I think the Trump campaign made the mistake of doing that debate, because otherwise this whole week would be nervous Democrats and Biden up there saying, get the chant going for 4 more years. Be that as it may, I still believe that if President Trump, as much as he doesn't want to stay on message and talk about issues, I believe he will and can be successful. I can appreciate when you see President Obama up there electrifying the crowd. That's going to fade. What you're looking at now, this is the equivalent of like a sugar high. I can appreciate Michelle Obama. She absolutely had that place rocking. I've been there, by the way. I saw Michael Jordan and the Bulls play the United Center. I mean, it's not, you have to be tone deaf to not acknowledge these are 2 individuals that can rile up a crowd. You know who else can rile up a crowd? Oprah. Oprah can rile up a crowd. Oprah, she was doing rallies for Barack Obama when he challenged Hillary. I remember that. She did a huge rally for him in Alabama in December of 2007, when Hillary was still seen as no one was going to challenge her because they all thought that she was, going to be the nominee. But can Oprah do it? Yeah, of course she can. But I'm telling you this, the whole argument is gender and race and glass ceiling and blah, 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 and this other stuff. But that stuff is going to fade. That stuff is going to fade. They're not. I don't think, I mean, listen, she's certainly doing better than Biden would have done. I'm not blind here, but if President Trump does stick to the issues, and then obviously a lot is on the line for their debate coming up next month. It's actually coming up kind of quickly. Harris is, and this whole thing of like the speech of her life and everything, most people are not going to see the speech. And they run late all the time. And even if she does deliver a speech, they're all going to be cheering and blah, blah, blah. I don't think that matters. But I do want to talk about what I find to be an interesting dynamic that's playing out there. But first, I want to remind you, if you're having a problem with your feet, folks, Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists, they can help you. And again, if you're listening right now on this Thursday and you're having a problem, foot pain or ankle or whatever, it absolutely destroys your quality of life. It doesn't have to be that way. If you call Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists, 401-949-3220, 401-949-3220, Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists. They're right in the Smithfield Medical Center, which is a fantastic building, Route 5 in Smithfield, 3 board-certified podiatrists. Listen, if you're having a foot problem, they will help you. Let them treat you. It's the Jerry Maguire, let them help you, right? Let me help you. Let them help you. All aspects of foot care, skin conditions, bunions, hammer toe, fractures, sprains. If you go to one of these good feet pop-up places that's either at a mall or a kiosk or whatever, they don't know what, it's a kid that dropped out of CCRI Lincoln that's trying to sell you expensive inserts. See a doctor. They take all health insurance, digital x-ray on site. Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialist. Maybe it's plantar fasciitis. Stop in, make an appointment is what I mean, not stop in. 401-949-3220. 401-949-3220. Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialist. A lot of people ask me about, you're constantly on the go, and where do you get the energy? I would not be able to do these things if I had a problem with my feet, foot, ankle, anything like that. If we just get down to it. Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists. Call them today, 401-949-3220. Now, couple of things, and I think Lynn Miller will like this. I don't know if she's watching or listening. But folks, good afternoon. Again, it is the John DePietro Show. No, I've heard that out in Chicago, you have a very nervous Governor McGreed because he is trying to nervously pitch. There's a very interesting dynamic playing out in Chicago right now, and I don't hear anyone else talking about it. But number one, you have Governor McKee out there, and he's trying to get the attention of the Harris people. And he's trying to get in front of Mayor Pete, and he's trying to connect with these people, and he's trying to get assurances that they will give the state the money for the bridge. What I have been told is there's no promises being made. Listen, it's time and place. It's also, you want to talk about tone deaf. The fact that he's even out there attempting this. Can you imagine afterwards there's a party and there's loud music and people are drinking and he's like, see, what happened was, what's that? Yeah, so DOT, as he's trying to yell over, he is just, the guy is a mess. But I want to talk about the dynamic of 3 people that are out there. Number 1 is Governor McGreed. Number 2 is Helena Foulkes, who's out there. And number 3 is former Governor, Commerce Secretary Raimondo. Boy, the difference in the dynamic of these 3 people. Number 1, McKee is clearly, cautiously eyeing Foulkes, who's out there. And she's very tight with Pelosi. And regardless what you think of Nancy Pelosi, DNC Chicago, despite what she did with Biden, a lot of people are thanking her for pushing old man Biden off the stage. And then the mutiny and the coup and getting Kamala up there. So a lot of people are saying the whole reason we're celebrating because of Nancy Pelosi, and Nancy Pelosi is very tight with Helena Foulkes. Nancy Pelosi has a lot of pull. Nancy Pelosi has far more allegiance to Helena Foulkes than she does to Governor McGreed and also Gina Raimondo. But so Foulkes is out there, and Foulkes is going to run for governor. Foulkes is all right. She lost in the primary. She actually won the primary, but they beat her with the mail ballots. And then that brings us to Commerce Secretary, former Governor Raimondo. And her, again, I don't hear anyone talking about this, but I want to tell you what's really happening there. And before I do that, though, folks, this 2024 update is brought to you by Propane Plus. Now, if you're listening right now and you use propane, in Rhode Island, call them at 885-4209. In Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus. You can also find them online at propaneplus.com. Now, I'm the one that told you that I have it on very good authority that there is bad blood between the Harris camp and Raimondo. And you go back to 4 years ago, when first President Biden announced he was going to choose a female VP. Then he announced, because of the summer of George Floyd, he was going to pick a female of color. Now, whether people like it or not, Gina Raimondo, then governor, who had backed Mike Bloomberg in the primary, who exploded. Elizabeth Warren took him down. Bloomberg insisting, I have $100 million that I'll donate to the party, but I need you to take a serious look at Raimondo. They meet with her. She impresses them. She gets vetted for VP. But then obviously we're going to choose a woman of color. Biden decided that, by the way. So she wants to be DHS secretary. They go with that clown Mayorkas. So they settle on Commerce Secretary. Hey, it's still a cabinet position. So, but it's my understanding that there's always been bad blood, right or wrong, that Harris believes that Gina has stabbed her in the back with Biden. And Vice President Harris identifies the ambition of Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo. So there's nothing wrong with ambition, except they both want the same thing. They both want to run for president. So when Biden not only was pushed out of the race, but then endorsed Harris, well, that deprived Gina of a primary. It deprived everyone, as a matter of fact. I even saw that Dean Phillips being interviewed the other day. That was the guy. He was the only guy that challenged Biden in the Democrat Party. They wouldn't give him a debate. He wasn't wrong. So anyhow, so Harris locally, Providence Journal, some others are saying, well, Gina Raimondo did an interview, said, I think there's room for an all-women ticket. You didn't hear any more talk. She was the only one saying that, as a matter of fact. Gee, let me guess. Who do you think would be the female VP? So Raimondo, who, as I am telling you, like her or not, Harris keeps her at more than an arm's length. So locally, the Providence Journal, could Gina Raimondo be the vice president? It's just ludicrous. It's people that are not really digging that there's just, and by the way, I'm not even saying that Harris is in the right here, by all accounts. I think Donna Perry is excellent. She's not a serious person, Harris. The VP is a creation of the media. I don't buy any of it. But anyhow, be that as it may. But you can't ignore it. This has been a disastrous week for Commerce Secretary Raimondo. And I'll tell you why. Number one, they stick her with a terrible speaking slot on Monday. It's the night that Biden's going to speak. They put her in the 8 o'clock hour. Never mind. Boy, Harris, we love Joe. Thank you, Joe. Push him off to 11:30 at night when most of the country is going to bed. Actions speak louder than words. VP Harris is the ultimate. Don't listen to what she's saying. Watch what she does. Oh, yeah, we're going to let Gina speak. Of course she, Biden, you're going to let Gina speak. Of course we are. We're going to give her a great slot. And then the Harris people are laughing. They put her on right before the governor of New York. And from a distance, if you were to see Gina Raimondo and Kathy Hochul, I'm not saying up close, but from a distance, they kind of, maybe right around the same age, both women, both dark hair. I wouldn't say they're dead ringers for each other, but so they put Raimondo on right after a state senator from Michigan, because that's an important slot. And then they put her on before the governor of New York. A minute into the speech, and I've talked about this, the crowd was already distracted. And Raimondo goes out there with this tired, my father worked for a watch company, and the crowd is like, okay. And CNN cuts away from the speech. Now, fast forward, Raimondo flubs the line. Her speech, she says, and Kamala Harris is going to create 100 middle-class families a tax cut. Yeah, because that sounds like a big number. She blew the line. It's supposed to be 100 million. So the Harris people are fuming at her. Then the Trump and the statistics from the Department of Labor show there's a net loss of almost 1 million jobs, 800,000. So Raimondo does an interview with ABC, and she says, well, I don't know about those numbers. And the ABC interviewer says, well, they're from the Department of Labor. What do you mean you don't know about these numbers? So she is getting roasted online. And then last night, let's bring out another cabinet secretary. Who is it? Mayor Pete. When does he speak? Wednesday night. When does he speak? After Oprah and before Vice President or candidate, Governor of Minnesota Waltz. My point is, Commerce Secretary Raimondo, I mean, this whole thing is an absolute disaster. Now, I know coming up next hour, you're going to hear Dan McGowan of the Boston Globe. And I know he says, well, you don't have to worry about Gina Raimondo. She's going to have a lot of options and she can make money and so forth. I'm not saying she is someone that would, go broke, but at this point, she's made money. Andy, the husband, has made money. Money isn't an issue for them. If she wanted to just earn money, she wouldn't be the Commerce Secretary. She could work for a hedge fund. She could work really various different places. She could be a consultant to businesses that want to do international business. Maybe she will do that, as a matter of fact. But anyhow, but that's not what she wants. Regardless of what you think of her, she thought 28 would be her shot. And by the way, it still could be. But what I'm pointing out is there definitely was a time last year when I think Helena Foulkes, former CEO of CVS, thought like, oh, wow, like, did I miss my window? Look at Gina. Gina's the Commerce Secretary. Helena Foulkes, I'm losing to Magritte in a blanking Democrat Rhode Island primary. But look at how things can look. For instance, right now, Helena Foulkes is potentially in a better position than Raimondo, because I don't believe that here's the thing. If you were the Harris campaign and you would seriously consider Gina Raimondo, Commerce Secretary Raimondo, as your Treasury Secretary or some high role, would you have her speak Monday night before the governor of New York and buried in Monday night that's already forgotten? Would you do that? The fact that they put Mayor Pete out there shows that, to me, that if Harris Waltz wins, which I don't think they will, that he could have a significant position within the administration. He definitely wants to run for president someday. If Harris loses, by the way, all bets are off at 28. If VP Harris loses, Mayor Pete runs 28. Gavin Newsom is really on the outside looking in. Raimondo, like, there's no shortage of people that want to run. And Harris may want to run again. And I don't know, maybe Waltz will get so caught up in this whole thing that he would run. But what a reversal of fortune, so to speak, listen, I thought Raimondo definitely I mean, she traveled to China. She had the big 60 Minutes expose. I would just say her communication people are not running a 2024 PR operation. I don't think so by any stretch of the imagination. She's not finding herself in good spots by any stretch of the imagination. All right, folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by this race for the White House is brought to you by J. Perry Paving. Call them today, 401 732 1730. 401 732 1730, letter J, J. Perry Paving. High quality, fair pricing, exceptional service. Call for a free estimate today. It's J. Perry Paving, 401 732 1730. Do you need your driveway paved? You do. Call them. And if you're a veteran or you're related to a veteran or you're, that no one has a better package for veterans than J. Perry Paving. Call them today, 401 732 1730. Now, let me just check, folks. And again, good afternoon. It is Thursday, August 22nd. You're listening to the John DePietro Show. I want to just Rhode Island. I want to just share this stuff about the bridge. Eli Sherman, Rhode Island leaders have been unwilling to share any of the blame for the Washington Bridge failure. But now they've sued 13 companies, and legal discovery could shed new light on how state officials oversaw the bridge as it deteriorated. I see that at WPRI, who is leading this against McGreed, Kim Kalunian, who at Rhode Island DOT is being held accountable for the Washington Bridge failure. I asked Director Alviti this week. He said, we at Rhode Island DOT are held accountable on a daily basis for everything we do. Well, I'm going to disagree with Peter because it certainly doesn't seem to be that way. Even Ted Nesi, who is very friendly with the Raimondo campaign, a damaging live TV moment for Raimondo as she fumbles a question about the employment revisions that BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, an arm of her Commerce Department, had just released. Now, I played it earlier, and she is absolutely getting pounded by this, and all these people saying the Commerce Secretary isn't aware the Bureau of Labor Statistics annually revises its job statistics. This is the quote that will forever haunt Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo.
Do you think that this new numbers could be a liability for this campaign? No, when I hear that, first of all, I don't believe it because I've never heard Donald Trump say anything truthful. It is, though, from the Bureau of Labor. I'm not familiar with.
Not familiar with those numbers. Let's play it again. She is getting crushed over this.
When you hear that, do you potentially think that this new numbers could be a liability for this campaign? No, when I hear that, first of all, I don't believe it because I've never heard Donald Trump say anything truthful. It is, though, from the Bureau of Labor. I'm not familiar with that.
I mean, what's hard to imagine is that Gina Raimondo, who her entire life has been an unbelievable student, and somehow her or her staff did not prep her that those numbers were coming out, they were going to be released, and it was President Trump that hit her on it. Harris Biden Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo says she doesn't believe new government data that shows almost 1 million of the jobs Harris Biden claimed to have created don't actually exist. I mean, it is unimaginable that this is happening. All right, I know everyone's talking about the governor of Minnesota and his son, Gus. Listen, it was very, very nice. That's my dad pointing. He is a young man that has some disabilities. Okay, so they had a nice moment. Good. I still don't think that's going to matter when it comes to voting. It is nice. It is that Raimondo thing. I can't even, behind the scenes, she must be absolutely out of her mind. Absolutely out of her mind. I also want to point out, boy, things are really heating up in that Cranston mayoral race. Mayor Hopkins put out a piece saying that Barbara Ann Fenton Fung should illegals get free college tuition. She voted yes. Now I know she had a press conference today trying to say that she didn't. I'm going to let that play out. I don't think it's a good look. And I think that is something that people are going to vote on. I'll say this, folks. Let me just say this about the Rhode Island Republican Party in general. And those of you that listen and watch know, I have repeatedly said that I don't think and I don't understand that the Rhode Island Republican Party, and I'm not trying to beat them up, and you don't hear me always going after them, but I have repeatedly said that I don't think they're in touch with how a lot of people feel about Rhode Island being a sanctuary state. And I'll let those two campaigns hash it out. But I remember going to CCRI at a forum when Chafee was the first one to allow it, and they continue to allow it. I think a lot of Rhode Island Republicans have to decide. To me, it's a kind of an element of which side are you on, because you can't have it both ways. As there is no, let me say this, there's no rational explanation, if you're listening or watching right now, why you, because remember, it's not free tuition at CCRI. We're paying for it. There's no rational explanation why you, wherever you're listening or watching, should have to pay that people that come here illegally from another country, and you have to pay for their children to go to college. By the way, I'm going to go even farther than that. And this is another issue that the Rhode Island Republican Party won't touch. And I have talked about it. And I've talked about it with Justin Katz, and I've talked about it repeatedly here. Why should any of you pay for any of these children to go to school? They go to Providence schools for free, and you pay $20,000 more than that per pupil. They go to Woonsocket schools for free. They don't pay taxes. Why should you have to pay? These people come here illegally from another country, and then you have to pay for their children to get an education. No one has an answer for that. But I want to be very clear. I've never understood why the Rhode Island Republican Party doesn't make an issue of it. Last year, Gabe Amo was in a primary, let me strike that. Last fall, Gabe Amo won the Cicilline seat, and he went up against a Republican challenger. I was pleading with that person, go after the fact that Rhode Island is a sanctuary state. Oh, are we? And they don't even go after it. It's a money issue. And if you contact the Rhode Island Republican Party, if you have any communication with Minority Leader Jessica De La Cruz, House Minority Leader Mike Chippendale, plead with them, arguing with them, implore them to do something, make it a money issue, because Rhode Island taxpayers are paying over $1 billion a year for illegals to go to the public schools in the state. And no one objects about it. And the Rhode Island Republican Party, they're the only ones that are going to say anything. Folks, don't you understand? If Providence said we're no longer going to educate all these illegals, if Providence did that, and Central Falls said that, and Pawtucket said that, and West Warwick said that, and Woonsocket said that, and I think Newport deals with it as well. It's just kind of like pockets around the state. But let's just talk about Providence. If Providence did that, 50% of the students in the Providence schools, 50% are illegal. 50% are illegal. Now, right now, there's approximately, I think there's 18,000 students in the Providence public schools. Do you understand their enrollment would drop by 9,000? What does that mean? It means you don't need all those teachers. You don't need all those schools. You don't need the expense. They do this They allow it's expensive babysitting daycare for the unions. That's what it is. That's what's going on. So where Biden Harris, I don't accept this whole thing. If you are watching any of the DNC, they're almost acting like President Trump is the president. This business of we're the underdog and blah, 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 and this other foolishness. The problem for Harris, no matter, and again, tonight they're all going to be cheering and crying and clapping and all of this foolishness. What has she been doing for the last 3.5 years? The border and how they've handled the border, it's too little too late. You've seen it in Massachusetts. You've certainly seen it in Rhode Island. You've really seen it in New York. One of the best things done was governors like Governor Abbott, Governor DeSantis, shipping the illegals up north. Put them in New York. Put them in Illinois. Put them in Martha's Vineyard. Put them in Massachusetts. That is what's got people's attention. Folks, this portion of the program, if you're thinking of getting a new kitchen or bathroom, contact Dream Maker today. Give them a chance to show you what they have. I did a live stream with them. You know, Dennis and Christina, they're so fantastic. 401-433-7272. Where are they located? They have a beautiful design center right on Greenwich Avenue in Warwick near Crown Plaza. Dream Maker, one-stop shop. They take you from concept to completion. Remember, respect, integrity, customer focus. Give them a call, set up an appointment, transition from dreams to reality with Dream Maker, and they have a beautiful Facebook page. Well, folks, good afternoon. You're listening to the John DePietro Show. It's AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. I want to commend Channel 12 continues to go after Magritte on the bridge. The bridge is a disgrace. The bridge is not getting fixed. They have no answers here. When they say, and here's let's look at this for a moment. And again, I'm not beating up the Rhode Island Republican Party. I'm not. But I'm tired of them sitting on their hands and not doing anything when it comes to the problem of Rhode Island being run as a sanctuary state. But hear me out. They could say, all right, so now let's just say the federal government is not going to pay for the Washington Bridge. And the state says, the state of Rhode Island is going to say, we need $1 billion. Where can we come up with $1 billion? I've already answered the question. How much does it cost taxpayers to educate for free all of these illegals in the public school system? It's over $1 billion. Do you understand? It's over $1 billion. It's gonna take a Trump presidency to straighten out this mess. Governor McKee is the wrong guy, and he still continues to get total free reign protection down the dial. WMcKeeRO, it's a disgrace how much they protect him. It really is. But just see the difference. Not everyone is protecting. DOT, no one is being held accountable because Governor Magritte has said, well, we're going to sue the companies. No one loses their job. If we fire somebody, then we can't collect the insurance payment because then it would make it seem as though it's their fault. Folks, there's been criminal wrongdoing. I want to remind people right now, Governor McKee is still under an FBI probe. The Washington Bridge investigation, it's still under. The feds are still looking into it. And the McKee people are not cooperating with the documents that they want. This guy is a plague. He is a plague and a stooge. It is a pay-to-play atmosphere. The people that work for McKee, they make it very clear. If you want to do business with the state, you have to donate to his campaign. You know, they went after Cianci on this. I don't understand why they don't go after McKee on this. Dan McKee is 10 times the thief Cianci ever was. It is, especially when it comes to the Washington Bridge. No one held accountable. No one suspended. No one fired. And W. McKearo. Oh, we just asked the question. Still give him a free pass as he's out there, hat in hand. Can you guys give me the money for the bridge? What an embarrassment. What an absolute embarrassment. Now, as far as I'm going to let the Cranston situation play out. However, anyone that has voted to give illegals free tuition at CCRI, I will let that hash itself out, but there's no sympathy from me. None. Stand up, vote no. Stop following along. Folks, speaking of Cranston, if you're thinking of a new vehicle or need a vehicle, you need a reliable vehicle. Volare Motors. They specialize Volvo sales and service, quality pre-owned vehicles, largest selection of Volvos in Rhode Island, located 1003 Park Avenue in Cranston. You can call them at 401-942-9568. Paul is the type of person you want to do business with. He lives in Cranston. He has a business in Cranston. He's running for office in Cranston. Paul Staskevich. Now, a dealership is only as good as their service department. Stephen knows these vehicles better than anyone, the mechanic there. Volare Motors, great prices, great vehicles, great service. Volare Motors in Cranston, New England's #1 dealer in used Volvo sales and service. 27 years of specialized Volvo sales and service, and they want your vehicle. Get the best value for your trade-in. Look for them on Facebook. It's Volare Motors. Well, folks, good afternoon. You are listening to the John DePietro Show. Now, remember, yes, we will be doing either Road Patrol Live or we'll be in action somewhere. It's not your imagination. We had the North Providence standoff. Now that guy, they apprehended. We had the standoff in Warwick yesterday. August tends to be where people start going off the rails a little bit. We will be ready on that. Some of the headlines, all eyes on her. Ann Coulter mocking, it's true. Barron Trump was not allowed to attend the convention. I don't know. Stunning Kamala roller coaster reaches new apex. It'll crash. It'll crash. Let them feel that way. It's always listen, obviously doing better than Biden would have done. That's true. But the path to victory for the Trump campaign, I agree with the campaign and the advisors. The advisors don't take the bait. Focus on the issues. I can't believe the week, though, as I mentioned, that Raimondo was having. I mean, Gina Raimondo, this is a disaster week for her. Number one, it is not only is it a disaster. Number one, Harris being the candidate is a disaster for Gina. The fact that she is then just being absolutely like crushed between that the didn't know the statistics, and I mean the whole thing is just absolutely, this is a nightmare situation for Gina Raimondo. If Gina Raimondo were a stock, it is absolutely taking a hit right now because of she flubbed the speech. Then she, I just keep coming back to this comment that she had. Damaging live TV moment for Raimondo. Fumbled the question of the Labor Department. And again, this wasn't on Fox. This wasn't on Newsmax. This was on ABC. Granted, it wasn't with David Muir, but nonetheless on ABC. I want to just check. Talk about a rough week. All right, here it is. 8.1 million views. Greg Price is someone I follow on X. He was the one that I saw that put out the Raimondo video. It's right now at 8.1 million views and counting, and continues to go up. Wow, of her flubbing that. I don't know what that was all about. I mean, what a really, really bad moment for Queena. Rhode Island Attorney General's office has released a report that cleared the police officers who fatally shot the double homicide suspect. That was the guy from Johnston. I mean, did it really take that long? I'll tell you one thing. They certainly don't do investigations fast around here. That's for sure. They do not do investigations um, fast around here in any way. So, I mean, that to me, I cleared that guy. All the guys involved back when it happened. Absolutely back when it happened. But let me say this about now. Again, it will be big news that supposedly Kennedy is going to drop out and endorse President Trump. I don't know how big that's going to be. I think there was a time a couple months ago he seemed to be gaining some momentum, but then the problem with RFK is just the more you listen to him, the whole thing is. I don't think President Trump should make any. I don't think he needs them. As a matter of fact, if they want to take him, and that somehow I don't know if he really helps or he potentially could be a liability. Hey, folks, I want to remind you about fenceRI.com. Call them today, 401-732-0555. If you're thinking of having a fence put around your property or business, fenceRI.com, the premier fence and deck contractor. Call them today. Look for them online at fenceRI.com. Remember, $200 off your fence if you mention our program or a new deck, whether it's pool fencing, pet fencing, or security. FenceRI.com. Look for them on Facebook or call them at 401-732-0555 for FenceRI.com. So that is the latest, the Warwick situation. We updated you with that, and then will we do Facebook Live later? Yeah, we'll definitely do Road Patrol later. And again, we'll do Road Patrol unless something breaks, and then we're there live. I want to again remind you, if you would like to see some of the video from yesterday, if you log on to petro.com, we have the video from Facebook, we have the video from YouTube, and the page just continues to explode. And we couldn't do it without, we've worked out a good system. Yesterday, it was a long day. As you can tell, I lead by example. I was the one on the scene. I was the one at Walmart, and I was the one that then showed up and had to be there. We're not delegating like that. All right, folks, here's what we're going to do. We're going to break for the 1 o'clock news. Big Harris speech tonight, and then that will close out the DNC. Dan McGowan of the Boston Globe. You're going to hear him next hour. So we're going to have the 1 o'clock news. We have another full hour to go of the John DePietro show. But check the website. We have videos from yesterday that are on YouTube, so people that like to watch it on YouTube. All right, definitely Facebook Live later. Right now, let's break for the 1 o'clock news, and then Dan McGowan of the Boston Globe joins us next hour on the John DePietro show.